Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissick and Dana Gentry.
I wanted to have Jared, I really wanted to have you on today because throughout all these changes that have happened, I was kind of disengaged from the news, and I was really just going to hear what you were saying.
Oh, that's dangerous. That's dangerous.
I know
everybody knows that the source of truth is on the news.
That's right.
I think everyone can agree with that.
Yeah, they are. They're there to sell ads and media and all those things. But so I was just so appreciative of like how much you really dove in and just you came with the facts, and I appreciated that so much. So just wanted to have you on to share with all of our people. And like I said, I know several of you guys are live streaming inside the market centers, inside the trading room. So we've got a lot of people listening.
Where are you guys again? Where are you guys located?
Okay, so we're in Kentucky and Ohio, but I've got a lot of guests on from other places too, probably, who might not be inside of our actual brokerages. But yeah, so yes, I see.
All right, so nobody's in the middle of the predicted hurricane that turned into a tropical storm.
I don't know if we have anybody from Florida on, but I am actually in South Carolina right now, and it is dumping rain.
Gotcha.
And they just canceled school tomorrow. I'm like, what in the world? This is nuts. I don't even think we were supposed to get it, but that's just.
I'm sure your kids are not upset.
No, yeah, they won't be. That's for sure. Okay, well, let's get started. Jared, I kind of wanted this to be open Q&A, but mostly you talking and not me. So, will you kind of start from the beginning and share with everybody originally with the changes, kind of like your take on why this all happened, and just for anyone that's been under a rock, maybe, how it all kind of began, and then we'll get to like where we are today.
Yeah. Well, that's a big question. So I'll cover some of that because we could do the hour just on that question. Yeah. First off, guys, I always say it, but I don't always mean it. Pleasure to be with you guys. I don't know if Dana told you, but we did a pre-call before this, and I dread those with a passion, and usually don't do them. And I was pleasantly surprised.
Want to do it. I was like, what?
Yeah. And so I was pleasantly surprised. You guys have a really cool leader, and we had a really great conversation, which probably should have just been the call that we put on here. Yeah. But I think it's funny, but I think a lot of you were blindsided when this all happened. And the truth is, the people in the industry behind the scenes were not blindsided. And it's funny to me, like we hear, I just caught some criticism because I criticized the now the permanent CEO of NAR, because they interviewed her and she had her one moment. They said to her, like, what do you want to get across to your members? What do you want to, and like, this was her moment to be like, let's come together. We've made mistakes, but and she comes out and says, you all need to keep things in-house and stop talking publicly. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
I saw that.
The opposite of transparency. Maybe if you guys didn't keep everything in-house, all of your members wouldn't have been blindsided, but by this announcement. And, we just had our event in Orlando, and I had Nick Bailey on stage with me, former CEO of RE/MAX, now the, I don't know, chief real estate something for T3, whatever it is. And he's like, Jared, you were all blindsided. He goes, we were deposed and we're going through trial for 4 years. He said, I had Ketchmark leaned over the desk yelling at me, trying to get me to break. Like, this was going on for 4 years. And, we can get into all of the merits of it and where we go from here and everything else. Let's just start off by saying that I'm going to say some things to you guys today as far as the direction we need to go and where things are going. And that does not mean that's what I think should happen. Like, I want to be very clear. I think this whole thing is utter bullcrap. I think this whole thing is, the idea that, Josh Sitzer, the lead plaintiff in the case, started this all because he sold his home and he got coerced into paying a 3% commission. He had no choice. He was just coerced into it, and it wasn't right. This kind of thing shouldn't happen to anyone, when he had 12,000 other options in his area. including listing FSBO. And he said, and he responded to that by doing two things. He said, let me go hire my neighbor attorney for 33%. First off, he had a problem with 3, but not 33. And then he starts, when it's all done, a competing flat fee brokerage. And his sole problem was that it wasn't negotiable when he, went and sold his home and it wasn't right. And then he starts a flat fee brokerage once he changes the lives of millions of agents. And my only question to him is, is your flat fee brokerage, is it negotiable? Because wasn't that the whole
point?
This
might be new news, right, Jared? Because I don't know if everybody on here knows that, because I didn't.
Were you guys aware of that? Were you guys aware of that?
Okay. Some people saying no, some people
guys. So once the new rules came out, this fine human being, after he changes the lives of millions of realtors who work their butts off to support their families and eat what they hunt. Everybody talks about 87% failure rate in the first 5 years. Do you know what people don't talk about? 75% in the first year. 50% of realtors in the last 12 months did 1 or less transactions. And so this idea that they're just out there making money hand over fist, and anybody who's making money in real estate, you need to go buy them a drink and ask them how, because they're doing something different than 99% of their colleagues. And so this guy goes and does that, and then when it's all said and done, launches a competing brokerage that leverages the rules from and I'm like, this is criminal. Like, this is absolutely criminal. And my only response is, welcome to 2024. That's the world we live in right now. Victims are winners. Winners are victims. I mean, it's just like, I did a podcast where I said, we live in a world right now where I've determined all you have to do in our world, doesn't matter how bad you are, how good you are, if you just call somebody else first what you are, well, then no one will call you that thing. So if you just call everybody else greedy, if you just call everybody else a fraud, if you just no one will notice that you're actually the biggest greedy fraud of all. And that's essentially what happened here. And we'll get into the whole price fixing and all that kind of stuff. You let me know where you want to go. But I can tell you guys why they won. And I can tell you the problem with it moving forward. But you let me know where you want to go. Because like I said, that's a big question. So I can go a lot of places. And guys, just so you all know too, who are new to me, I'm a happy guy. I'm like a super friendly, happy guy. This stuff just ticks me off because it's such nonsense. It's just such nonsense. But the deeper you get into it, and I know all these people behind the scenes. Like, did you guys know that for 4 years, I'm telling you guys stuff that nobody knows now. Okay. So like for 4 years while they deposed these leaders of these companies. So they had, Nick Bailey, they had Gino from Berkshire Hathaway. They had, what's his name from KW? Gary Keller. They had all these people in a room. And they put them on trial for price fixing, saying that they were all coming together, deciding what the lowest commission acceptable was, and then going back to their people and telling them they can't go under that, like they're mob bosses. And they got found guilty of it. And it's like, we're independent you can't tell us what to charge. Like, that's literally, you can't. They got found guilty. It's so insane on such a level that it's like, how did that happen? Like, how... It's so weird the last year. It's like everybody's telling, after all of this goes down, everyone's telling independent contractors how they're supposed to run their business now. And I'm like, wasn't that the point of being an independent contractor? Like, you don't tell me how to run my business. Like, what the hell is going on here? Like,
why do you think it's happening to, this is a question I get a lot. Like, will it be attorneys or not attorneys? Will it be insurance people next, or lender, or whoever else next? Like, it's just crazy that it.
Well, by the way, but just so you know, it'll never be attorneys, because
right.
the real crime, the real fraud, whatever, is with the attorneys.
Right.
But the Senate, they're never going to go after them, because what is every single one of them in their real practice? They're all attorneys. Every senator is an attorney. They're not going to go after their own people. So they point at everybody else and call them corrupt when the real corruption is right here. I mean, freaking Ketchmark came out, said how we should be hourly workers. And I think every agent alive, if they really thought about it, would be like, yeah, sounds good. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Like that buyer I drive around for 10 months at $170 a gallon on gas, who says, never mind, I'm going to rent. Here's an invoice, And then he puts in for $10.5 million because he did 7,000 hours worth of work. And my response to Catchmark is, we'd love to go hourly, but only if it's at your rate, $1,500 an hour. Like, but we're the one fleecing people. And it's just like, my God, what an upside down world we live in right now. Anyway, that wasn't your question. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Oh yeah, Tim, this is a question we get asked a lot too. Tim wants to know, is there a real possibility that the U.S. Supreme Court could undo the NAR settlement? I have thoughts on that, but
guys, the NAR settlement hasn't been approved.
Right.
Like, everybody thinks it's been approved. The DOJ has been clear. They don't think it goes far enough. All right, so let's just get into this.
Yeah, let's get into it, because you and I talked about maybe a second fit. Let's just get
all right, guys. I'm gonna tell you guys some stuff right now you are not gonna like. You guys ready? So any of you who liked me in that opening, get ready. Here we go. I said this at our advance. My job with the platform I have is not to feed you sugar. Okay. It's to actually tell you the truth of what's happening. I'm aware that you guys, correct me if I'm wrong. And if I go somewhere you don't want me to, that's fine. And there's nothing wrong with it. You guys are under great leadership. Like I said that in the beginning. I'm under the impression you guys are still doing broker to broker, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, that's not going to last. So Nick said it from the stage, the guy who's deposed from the stage. And he goes, guys, it's gone. It's gone. So let me explain. Our industry, as ridiculous as it is, I'm going to preface again, it doesn't matter what I think or believe or like what I think is right. So I just want to be clear with you all. I'm just telling you what's going to happen. Okay. Our industry got accused and found guilty of price fixing, which we know is absurd. But their definition of price fixing, what they proved in a court, was that when you go and you meet with a seller and you determine the overall commission and you get an agreement that they can co-opt that commission with a buying broker. You guys following? That once you get that agreement for the cooperation, you have now set the price of what they're going to make before they ever even enter the transaction. Therefore, price fixing. Now, we know that that's just called incentive. Once they got found guilty of that and they defined that that was price fixing, everyone who's doing broker to broker, guys, they're going to bring it right back to court and they're going to go, there's already a precedence. That's price fixing. And they're going to go for round 2. And they did that intentionally. If you notice, they got found guilty of co-oping, which was called price fixing. And then they came out with a settlement and said, you can't do co-op on the MLS, but it's fine everywhere else. Why would it be fine everywhere else, but not on the MLS?
That's right. That's what I think was confusing to people.
No sense at all. That makes no sense at all, because they want you to keep doing it, because they're going to come around for round 2 and they're going to win like that, like in a second. So guys, I don't want to tell you how to run your business. You do your thing. I'm just telling you, it's just a matter of accounting. Before, we used to get it all from the seller through the listing agent, and you would co-op with the buyer. Now, we need it to come from the seller to the agent, seller to the buyer's agent. The listing agent needs to negotiate their percentage, and the buying agent, when they come in, needs to request what they are going to get as part of their offer. It's just a matter of accounting. They're still paying the same. In fact, in most cases, they're paying more. This hurt the consumer. I had John Mangus, a broker out of Toledo, Ohio, come up on the stage at my advance last week. We just launched a thing called Jared James Academy, and I'm going to have him sit in on one of our live calls, and I'm going to have him break down exactly what he's doing. You should actually be in on this. Because he goes, Jared, he's been a broker for years. He was past president of Ohio. Do you know him, by the way?
Know his name. I know his name, but I don't know him.
Oh, you would love him. He's now the commissioner of real estate in Ohio. He's now he's in it, guys. He's one of you. Like, he thinks this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
They got rid of broker to broker 3 months ago.
Wow.
And he's like, because he was friends with people like me and others. And he's like, yeah, writing's on the wall. This isn't going to last. They're making 17.8% more per transaction now. They're getting 4% on the list side, and they're getting less on the buyer side when they request. But when you add it together, they're making almost 18% more. And so I'm going to bring him in on our academy and have him break down for everybody exactly what he's doing. What does your contract look like? What are the objections you're getting? And again, we don't have to agree with the changes in order to benefit from them. And I'm just telling you guys, it gives me no joy to say this. Broker to broker is gone. Not going away, it's gone. I had the former CEO of Remax sit on my stage in front of thousands of people and go, guys, it's gone. Like, you don't understand. You're still fighting for what was. And my message to everybody was, stop getting romantic and fighting for what was and start getting excited for what's going to be. Because the quicker that you make that adjustment, we can all kick and scream and know that it wasn't right and that it was done under false pretenses and that we were forced to do it. You're right on all accounts. Okay? Kick and scream for 5 minutes, yell your favorite swear word, but on minute 6, we need to move forward. I'm telling you, you can listen to me or not listen to me. I benefit not at all from this. I know all of these people. I know every CEO. I know their attorneys. I know what's happening. Broker to broker is gone. Like, that's it. So I know that's not going to be met with applause, but they already proved price fixing was broker to broker comp. So now they're going to come back for round 2. The DOJ has come out and said that they want a complete decoupling. The Ketchmark in his interview after the settlement, the one that he agreed to, was very clear. Not far enough. No, we're still watching. And they were like, what do you mean you're still watching? If they're following the rules, what would be the problem? We'll see. It's a moving target. We'll see. If you guys haven't watched the video, so I talked about it in detail on one of my podcasts, but then I did a separate long-form YouTube video where I just clipped out the part about 30 minutes where I talked about Ketchmark's interview post-settlement. If you haven't went and watched that yet and listened to his answers to questions and then my summary on it, you need to go watch that. It is eye-opening.
Jared,
Okay?
I'm going to put a link in the chat. That's on your YouTube, right?
Yeah, I'll have to...
I've got yours pulled up because I just watched where I think that's your wife, right? Who you just did one with?
That's my California wife, who's actually sitting right here. I have one in every state. So this is California. She never likes that.
I loved her. I knew I loved her.
This is
loved her instantly. Hi, we got her hand. Okay. I knew I loved her instantly when she was like, yeah, I'm waiting on like an eyebrow pencil or something. I was like, she's my girl. Like,
that makes sense. You know what? I don't remember that, but that adds up. That checks out. You gotta keep it tight.
Yeah. Okay. I'll try to find that and post it in the chat while we're on here.
Yeah. If not, I'll have Tom, can you find that video? It's like 30 minutes long. Send it over to me. Got producer Tom in the background over there.
Awesome.
We'll get you guys. Honestly, I don't care if you do it while you're working out. I don't care if you do it while you need to go listen to that. Like, these are the people who are actually controlling things. And as much as it sucks, they are litigating this industry into submission. And it's wrong, but it doesn't matter. Like, the quicker you get ahead of where the puck is going, the better you're going to do as an agent. And you're going to be so far ahead of all these people who are still trying to fight for what was. Okay. Like, you just need to adjust, start learning the conversations you're going to have with your clients, start learning, what it looks like just to, again, guys, at its simplest form, it's just a change in accounting. Still getting paid the same way. It's just coming directly from the seller rather than through the listing agent. You just need to remember that's really all it is. Let's not overcomplicate it. Does that make sense to everybody? It's just a change in accounting. That's it. It's really simple.
Well, and I agree with what you said. And, Gary Keller has told us all along, like, this will be an opportunity for people to make more money. It just is how they're going to go about it. And, what they choose to adopt. And so I'm actually encouraged to hear that they are already seeing an uptick.
Now we have real world examples of people actually doing that. And by the way, I got the link now, so I'm going to send it over here and get it over to you. Now we have real world examples of people actually doing it. And so, like I said, on something like our academy, I'm going to actually bring people on who are doing it. And we're going to use them as examples and say, hey, let's do the boring crap. Forget about, hey, you're going to make more. That's great. That's as valuable as an Instagram quote. Okay. Yeah. Like, I talked about this at our advance, like the real work, the real success of any business and real estate business is in the boring crap that nobody sees.
Yeah.
And so as agents with all this stuff going on, we need to recommit ourselves as non-motivating as this is. We need to recommit ourselves to the boring crap. Okay. And when we have a time like this that requires adjustments, that requires, we need to commit to that. Okay. I'm putting right now, I just put it in the chat.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
There's a link. There's a thank Tom.
Perfect.
Tom, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Tom. Don't you guys go. I'm going to pull it up so I can save it. Don't go watch it now, but just pull it up. So
Yeah, don't watch it now. I'm here real. Yeah. It's just,
yeah. Don't watch it now. Save it for later. Thank you. Perfect.
I've never told someone not to watch. Do not watch my video. Yeah.
Okay. So this is a good question that Stacy had, but I feel like a lot of agents get hung up in like what's happening with their local MLS with all these changes, because sometimes we're at the mercy of waiting when it comes to forms and all that. Thoughts on that, Jared? Or
so many.
Yeah.
Did you guys see Alabama? Did you see what Alabama Association did?
Decouple, or they're wanting to decouple? That's one of my questions.
Guys, I agree. Okay, so you don't want me to go there yet.
No, yeah, you can go there. But where he's talking about some are wanting to decouple from NAR. And
guys
here have asked me about decoupling from NAR, so this will be a good thing to talk about.
Guys, I still don't think it's a bad idea to be a member of NAR. I just think that you should have choice.
Yeah.
The idea that in order for me to really be an operating realtor, I have to join my local, state, and national. And it's not free. It comes out of my pocket is absurd. You know, the average association across this country for other industries has a 10 to 13% join rate. NAR is almost 90.
Yeah.
And it's because they force it. You know, it's like, well, you won't have full access to the MLS. Well, then you will not have it. And it's like, I should be able to pick what I want. And so I say this kind of stuff and people think that I'm anti-NAR, and I'm not. We criticize the ones we love and that we want to do well. I criticize my children because I want them to be good adults. You know, I just need them to do better. And I'm talking about NAR now, not my children. I need them to do better. And they're still playing the game, you know, between the NAR president or CEO who has no experience in real estate at a time like now, coming out, and her one chance to speak to the industry tells us we need to keep things in-house. And then they come out recently and they try to give some positive news that through all of this, surprisingly, our membership has not dwindled at all. That is such bull crap. Your renewals are up in January.
Yeah, it's not going to
matter. It's impossible for your numbers to dwindle. Like, the fact that you came out and said that shows me that you're still not being truthful. You still are not trying to be truthful and transparent. And so that bothers me. Like, I'm sorry, but it bothers me. And I'm not anti-NAR. I've got so many friends there. Kevin Sears, the president, is my good friend. Like, I was if not, I think I was the first person to interview him post when all this stuff went down. He called me. I was at my son's soccer game and all this stuff was going down. And you know, he's a great guy. And all of a sudden he takes over NAR at a time when it's like, what? I was supposed to just be making the rounds, waving and taking pictures. What is going on here? And I'm at my son's soccer tournament and I get a call after all this crap goes down with NAR and it says Kevin Sears. I pick up the phone and I go, what are you, bored? And he's just like, oh, dude. And we had a very off the record conversation for an hour, which then led to me interviewing him on my Facebook, Instagram Live, my podcast, like whatever. Like, I love these people. I have been an NAR member for many years. Okay. So please don't confuse the idea that me criticizing means that I'm not for them. Okay. The difference is that I'm one of the few voices you're going to hear from who has nothing to lose.
Right.
I'm not being paid by, I don't need them. I'm not being paid by any of these places. We have our own community. We have our own programs. We have more followers than all of them put together. We have more, like, I don't need them. So I'm saying the truth. Now, a lot of people don't like that. Okay. But my hope at the end of the day is that it creates a better industry. It creates a better organization. Because we're not going to get there by hiding things like they've already been doing, putting things under the rug, ignoring things and calling it transparency. Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of these MLSs, like, part of that's the problem. Like, my God, I don't know if you saw what, like, California came out with a buyer agreement that had 25 different ways that you're going to get paid. That is not pro-consumer. Okay. That is trying to not get litigated again.
Yeah.
And so we as an industry have to understand that there's all these organizations that are not realtors that are creating forms and creating rules that do not jive with the way we do business, which is relational. And if you're not careful and you don't guard your heart, you're going to become very transactional.
Yep.
Because everything around us is transactional right now. And yet at the end of the day, here's a very important point. That's a way to lead into something. This better be good. Here's a very important point. Guys like me, we coach and train tens and hundreds of thousands of people, and like our job right now is to give people the right verbiage and tell them how to get around this. And what do you say to a buyer now? And I get that. That's part of my job. I do that. I get that. Do you know who doesn't care about any of that? People that you have worked with several times. People you actually have relationship with. Like if the industry had been listening to what I had been saying for the past 10 years, when I said there's no such thing as a past client, that's a ridiculous thing to say. There's active clients and prospective clients. That's it. Potential clients, and then there's active people that are buying and selling, and active people that are prospecting on your behalf for someone who's going to buy and sell based on your ability to stay in communication. There's no such thing as a past client. If this industry had been listening to what I've been saying for 10 years about focus on the right side of the transaction, there's the transaction, the closing, then there's a left side pre-close and the right side post-close.
Yep.
We focus all our energy, money on the left side, pre-close. And then we think everything ends at the closing. The transaction doesn't stop at the closing. It starts at the closing. If we would have understood what I've been trying to say, which is lifetime value, and focus on the right side of the transaction, is there's no such thing as a past client. And instead of spending so much money on Zillow and these other places to create leads, we spent more money on places like Mosaic and Happy Grasshopper and these other things that nurture the right side of the transaction. These conversations would be so easy. It'd be like getting them to sign a waiver at a bounce house, because they'd come up to us and they'd be like, somebody who's a 5th-time client just goes, I've heard all this stuff. My sister sent me. What's the deal? And they're like, a bunch of bull crap attorneys got involved. Just sign right here. And they're like, got it. Because there's relationship. But when you're constantly having to recreate your business, now you've got to get into what's the verbiage and how do you do this? And what's it? Because we need to take responsibility for the fact that some of us haven't followed the right patterns, run our business the right way that allows us in a place like this to be undisruptible.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Two things I wanted to point out. One, and this just goes back to I think Whitney said monopoly in the chat. This just goes back to that. And I think sometimes it's good for us as agents to understand kind of how this works. But I know someone who had a conversation of potentially, not being a part of their MLS anymore, their brokerage not being a part of the MLS anymore, which means so that they didn't have to be a member of NAR, they could decouple from NAR. So then they would just be a real estate agent. They wouldn't be a realtor, but big deal. Nobody knows the difference, whatever.
Oh, no. Code of ethics.
Right.
That's what they tell you. Oh, then you're not a part of the code of ethics. And it's like, I think you need to find a different cell.
Yes, totally. Well, what happened though, Jared, was because of the relationship that the MLS and the board had with Showing Time, you can only use Showing Time if you were a member of the MLS.
There you go.
So that put the kibosh on the whole thing because everyone still wanted to have access and use Showing Time.
By the way, that's the definition of antitrust.
Right. Yes.
Like that is, so like now you've got these Michigan realtors and broker who filed suit saying antitrust, and they're making that claim. And they're right. They're right, by the way. And then you have the Alabama Association of Realtors, the state. And I know Alabama. So I know a bunch of those people. That was one of the first places I ever did an event with.
Wow.
You've got them writing a letter to Nakia Wright. And in that letter, if you read it, they're basically saying, hey, do the right thing. We don't want to sue. And there are other states that are going to join here. Go read their letter and you'll see, like, it's kind of like the unwritten. They're like, we'd prefer to be able to, do the right thing. And so it's going to get interesting. But that's the definition of antitrust.
Yeah. So what do we do about it? Like, how do we get do you love how I expect you to solve it all, Jared?
Yeah.
Like, what's the answer? Because it does get you frustrated,
Yeah. I have an actual answer for that, just so you know.
Okay, good. You would.
Well, it's not what you think. It's not, okay, go meet with an attorney and do whatever.
Yeah,
I honestly think sit back, get about your business and let the dust settle. I think this stuff is going to settle itself.
Yeah.
There's enough people right now that are making noise. Man, I don't think we understand how big of a deal that was. The state association. reaching out. Whenever you see a state association like that, like you're in the business, you know how this goes. They're all friends.
Yeah.
Alabama is friend with Ohio, leaders, and they don't do anything on their own.
Mm-hmm.
They're all talking, like they're all, you know what I mean? And I think there's enough stuff going on right now that everybody thought that NAR was going to change because of lawsuits and the DOJ and these other things. And I think the actual change is going to now happen from within their membership. Because when you start getting sued by your membership, and you do start getting drastic numbers of people in January that go, nope, not up in here. We're done.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't think the drop in January is going to be as big as everybody thinks it is.
You think
And
it'll be more of a gradual thing?
I just think that everybody talks a big game.
And then won't really do it?
I think that there's always a loud minority.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, let's just say somebody came to one of my events and there's 1,000 people there. And there's 2 people who hate my guts. And they go, this guy's an idiot. And they start yelling out. Now, they might be right. But the overall feeling there is, wow, the crowd turned on him.
Mm.
It was 2, and I think that everybody talks a big game, but I think that a lot of people are sitting back waiting to see what happens. And when you look at what the cost of membership is, I think there's going to be a lot of people like Braveheart that are just going to be like, hold, like, let's see what's happening, and I'm one of those people, by the way.
Yeah.
And so it's much easier to jump in a chat without a profile picture on YouTube and death to the world. And, we need to burn NAR to the ground and we need to, whatever. But when it comes to actually moving in a direction where you disconnect yourself from something that you've been a part of for decades,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be a little slower than what everybody thinks. Because I'm hearing people going, it's going to get cut in half. And I'm like, I think that's a little drastic. But I do think that these calls from the state associations and just members overall, that they're going to have to start to have an effect more than even a DOJ or but I think, look, I mean, you want to go in another direction here. I think NAR is in trouble from the sense that they made a deal for a $418 million settlement based on their current membership numbers.
I was just about to say that. The thing that I found was interesting, and I wanted to know your thoughts on this, was that when all that happened and they made that, huge settlement, one of the very first things that they came out and said was, whoa, but don't worry, we're not raising dues right now. And we're
not raising dues in the second year. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like you only say that when your plan is to raise the dues. You know what I mean? Like, they're obviously thinking about that later. So I think it would be interesting.
Go watch my interview with Kevin. I think I said that.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I said, whenever somebody says something, you look at what they're not saying.
That's right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? What was the thing the other, my wife had a situation where she got out of an airplane or something. That's a weird way to say it. She got out of an airplane. But she was leaving an airport. It's probably a better way to put it. And some guy was trying to get you to take his car or something, or like use his car service. And his sell to her was, don't worry, you're safe. You remember that? Yeah. And I'm like,
automatically think, oh my gosh, I'm not safe.
Wait, it's like, wait a second, that's on the table? I didn't know that this was like a risk. I thought you were just going to bring me where I was going. Don't worry, I'm safe. What kind of a sell is that? And so inevitably, when someone says, don't worry, I'm safe, what you're thinking is, oh, so I'm not safe.
Yeah.
So when someone says, don't worry, we're not raising dues this year, you go, oh, this year?
Right. That was exactly what I did.
And so beyond just that, because that's a great point. But take that one step further. When I look at like where things are going and membership is going to drop.
Yeah.
They made that deal based on current membership. So how are they going to pay that money?
Right.
So what are you going to get rid of to be able to pay that money? Like that's my head starts going there because that's just math.
Yeah. I think
that's not a little amount of money. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know where that's going to go. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's going to be interesting.
That's going to be interesting to watch because, and I've heard people say, well, eventually will they have to file bankruptcy or will NAR even be able to exist?
Well, okay, let's go down that road. So first off, in a world where they're trying to prove value, the only way they're going to have enough money to pay is if they take away things they're paying for that provide value.
Yep.
So that's a problem. The other thing is the only reason they made this deal was to avoid bankruptcy. So a lot of you are out there and they're like, why did they settle? So I do understand why they settled. This is where, like, guys, as angry as I'll get, whatever, I'm very level-headed. Like, I'm very, like, I get it. Like if you were a politician, you'd want me to be your friend because I can see all sides, like I get it. And Kevin was very clear with me that they had no choice because people go, they sold us out. NAR had no choice. We live in a world where if you have enough money, enough time, and enough vitriol, you can litigate people into submission.
Yeah.
And you had a group of attorneys that basically, look, when Nick Bailey was on my stage last week, the CEO of Remax, they were one of the first ones to settle. And he goes, Jared, let me be honest and tell you something that I couldn't say when I was the active CEO. We had spent $26 million fighting this case.
Illegal. Yeah.
So 58 sounded all right because they were just going to keep going. Okay. NAR comes back. Kevin Sears, president of NAR, tells me, I can't remember if we said this publicly or privately, but if not, let's just keep this in-house. So he tells me, Jared, we had two options. We either submit and settle, or we keep going until they bankrupt us. And they let us know very clearly they were just going to bankrupt us. The problem with them bankrupting us is now nobody's covered.
Right.
Because after they bankrupt us, they're then going to go after all of you separately, the members. So when everybody gets pissed at us because we didn't cover brokerages at 2 billion sales volume and above, which is absurd. Those are the main paying members.
Yeah.
Those are all the members. He's like, we had no choice because they gave us an option. Either you go bankrupt or you accept this deal. And now in that deal is that you're going to get 418 million from us and all those large companies, 2 billion. We're going to go after them separately and collect from them. It was nothing but a money grab.
Yeah.
But NAR had no choice. Their best bad option was to settle and at least cover people under 2 billion. Because the other option was go bankrupt and cover nobody. And like, you guys got to understand that. Like, as much as I get on them now about, you don't hear me say a lot about them settling. You hear me say about decisions now. And the reason why you don't hear me getting on them about settlement is because I understand that if every one of you was in that position, you would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Or you would have been a bad leader.
That's exactly, Jared, what Gary Keller ended up coming out and saying. I don't know if you knew in the beginning, Gary was like, we're not settling because we did nothing wrong. And like, this is crazy. This whole thing's crazy. We're going to fight it. And Gary was one of the longest ones that was deposed, and they actually didn't.
He was one of those original ones. That's what I'm telling you.
Yes. And he was supposed to have more time the second day to continue with his deposition. And they scrapped it. They wouldn't let him finish his conversation, his deposition. And so ultimately, after Gary came out and said, we're not going to settle, we're not going to, I'm going to stand up for the agents, we did nothing wrong. And then he came back and did settle. And his message to everyone, many of you who are with KW will know this, but he basically said, like, we got to just put this to bed and move on because it's not going to go away. Like, it's become such a distraction.
There you go.
We got to move on.
There you go. It's not right.
It's not
just
right.
It's just the way our system is today.
Yeah.
Like I said, the real corruption is that attorneys can litigate whatever they want.
Yeah.
They can act like the great Oz behind the curtain. Like they can, and it is so corrupt.
Yeah.
But again, our legal system, our Senate, will not do anything because they're all attorneys. It's sickening. It's absolutely sickening.
What do you think is the deal with him having his own flat fee brokerage? Like, to be totally transparent, like I haven't researched a ton of that. So,
it doesn't work. It doesn't work. By the way, there were flat fee brokerages prior.
Right.
Like, come on, guy. Like, what are we doing here? So, go for it.
Yeah.
Good luck working with other agents.
Yeah.
They're going to jump on board. But let's talk about something else here. Let me bring a little sunshine into the convo here. There is amazing opportunity because this does open up the door to you being paid in so many different ways. It does open up the door to you getting more than what you got before. Yeah. We had one of our coaches at our, we did a session on, dealing with the friction from buyers now at our advance. And he talked about how, he's getting more money from people, but on a side thing, he now had people coming to him because he's marketing himself in a way that makes himself available. People who would have never have used an agent, they would have been those, look, guys, there's for sale by owner buyers now, just like there's for sale by owner sellers. You got to understand there's now going to be for sale by owner buyers that decide to go it on their own. And because of the way he was marketing himself, he got a hold of one of those And they said, look, I don't want to use an agent. I don't want to pay 3%. I don't want to pay 2%, whatever. He goes, how much for you to do the docs for me, the documents? And our coach told him $1,875. And I don't mean like just short of $19. I mean $1,875.
Yeah.
Then a half hour did it, and he made $1,875 he never would have made.
That's one of my questions, Jared, is what do you think we're going to see? Because a lot of people who have teams have been, I think, a little bit nervous for their buyers agents who only, primarily work with buyers. And I'm just wondering if and you pretty much just said it, but I'm just wondering if you think that we're going to see more of like a flat fee. Here's some different options for buyers that agents are going to go to that maybe are more work with more buyers, not the heavy listing agents.
Yeah, not overall.
Okay.
Like that was an example of somebody who got something he never would have had.
Okay.
That person would have never have worked with an agent, but because of all of the headlines they've read, they were like, is this available now? Can I just have that done? And so he got business he wouldn't have had. On the buyer side, all right, let's go into this. Can I put on my coach hat now for a little bit here, guys? Okay. Buyers are sellers now. Okay, we have to understand that. Like I said, just like you have for sale by owners, you're not going to have for sale by owner buyers. Like you're going to have people who go unrepresented. You're going to have people who do things that are not in their best interest. You're going to have people, all of that stuff. Just like with a seller, when you go in and you have multiple people looking to book that seller, you're now going to have multiple people who try to book that buyer. You need to have a buyer presentation. That buyer presentation now, you had stats when you go into a listing. You're like, here's my list to sale. Here's my days on market. How many of you right now have been pulling your stats for a buyer on here's my win ratio on multiple offers. Here's what our sale to list costs have been for our buyer. Here's what I've saved them. How many of you have been pulling those numbers? Okay. So two ways you can look at that. You can all feel terrible about yourselves and say we're terrible agents, or you can look at it and go, these are the best of the best. They jump on lives to get better and nobody's doing it. And so that's how little it takes to separate yourself. Like that's the little thing it takes is now going to the next level. And after we had our 5 minutes of kicking and screaming and getting upset, how do we now prepare better than our competitor? Because in a world where conversation is now necessary, where buyers have got to have a conversation with an agent, there's no just I meet you, you like me, and let's go. There's a signed agreement that has to happen. Now we have to have conversation. What you say in that conversation is going to matter. I made the joke at the advance, and it's just so true. It's like, this is going to sound weird at first, guys, so just hear me out. You ever seen like a super hot girl or a super hot guy, and they're like a 9 or a 10, and then they open their mouth and they talk, and they very quickly become, a 4.5 or a 5. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Or are you not aware of this scale?
No, we're aware. Yeah.
Okay. On the flip side, you ever met someone very average, and then they open their mouth and they talk, and you're like, that's an 8.5. Right? You guys following, or did I lose you? We good?
We're good.
That's our industry now. Conversation is now forced.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people who worked with people because they were great at showing up and working with whatever, they're now going to have to talk to them about the business. They're now going to have to talk to them about what they offer. They're now going to have to talk to them about the advantage of working with them. And a lot of them are going to become 4s and 5s. And what you need to make sure is that you're a 9 and a 10 all day long. And I'm not talking about your makeup and your name tag. I'm talking, when you're going in there and you're bringing up, the idea that, here's my stats. Here's actually how I perform for my clients. Here's the options of how you can pay me. And here's what you get. And here's what you don't get. And now they're comparing you against someone else. They're going, they didn't do any of what? And then they go to that other person and they go, what's your close ratio? And the person goes, not just close ratio on a multiple offer. What's your close ratio on goes under contract? You bring it to close. What's your ratio? What is your, and you know this stuff. It all separates you. I mentioned before, we live in a world now where you need to invest in tools that are for the right side of the transaction. We need to bring real transparency. And so when we talk about the idea that most people think a buyer just opens the door and, finds that. I found my last house myself. Raise your hand if you heard that before. I found my last house. Guys, it's 2024. In almost every single case, they're going to find their home themselves. That's not your value. Saying that somebody's all set once they find a home is like saying a woman's all set when she's pregnant, right? Someone's got to deliver the baby. And the difference between not having an agent and having a great agent is the difference between finding a house and actually closing, getting the house that you want. That's a big difference. And we need to be able to communicate that to them and get them to understand that, like, there is actual value here. We need to invest in tools that bring the look. One of the best things you can do is create expectation. I'm going to go back into coach mode for a second, okay? You should be creating expectation with a buyer the moment you meet them and telling them, hey, look, I'm not Nostradamus, but I am going to predict the future right now. You're going to find the house yourself because you have all the apps. You have all, that is not my value. Anyone can find a house. Like, everyone finds a house. There was 44 offers on that. Everyone found it. You're going to find it yourself. But if you want to get it and get to close, that's where I come in. And then you start working with someone and they find the house. They're like, my God, it's just like you said. And you're like, yeah, I've done this a few times. And then from there, you start to look at, okay, my tools that I'm investing in, am I investing in tools that focus on the right side of the transaction? Can we start doing business correctly? Can we start actually understanding that this is a relationship and it's about lifetime value? You know, there's companies out there now. It's such a cool thing. Can I say this really quick? Like, this will be just a really quick synopsis. The last 10 years, there's been over $50 billion put into eliminating you as the agent in our real estate technology. Did you know that?
Yeah, bolt-on prop tech. Yep.
$50 billion in you getting out of the business.
Yep.
And man, we are cockroaches. Like, we just survived. And now all these tech companies with all these hundreds of millions and billions of dollars have now changed the way they're doing it. And now they're not going anywhere. So how do we empower them with their consumer? And now you're seeing that because we have proof of concept. You know, we have the follow-up bosses that sell for almost $500 million. We have companies that sell for tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. So now they're like, well, then there's money in that. So you look at companies like Mosaic.io, right? I'll put it in the chat for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. You look at companies like this, Mosaic.io, where their whole focus is lifetime value. They remember the days when .loop came out and it was like collaboration on a signature?
Yep.
Places like Mosaic.io collaborate the whole transaction, bring the consumer into the whole. They see at 1:30 in the morning what you did in the note you made and letting them know what's happening. You can bring in vendors. You can bring in, like, now you have these tools available to you to make everything completely transparent. And when you go and meet with someone and you say, hey, I use tools like Mosaic and whatever, and you're going to see every step of the process. You're going to see everything I'm doing. We're going to write notes back and forth. You can have, there's an app and you can have notifications on what's happening, or you cannot, you can turn it off. And now when they go to another party, another person, and they go, hey, do you have that? Do you show me everything? Am I aware of everything? Are you? And they're like, that's all. I don't know. Let me get back to you. You have to be looking at ways that you separate yourself in the world we live in, and how do you provide value? Because we live in a world where finally, you may not like what happened, but you're going to get paid what you're worth. And that's scary for some and amazing for others.
Yeah. Jared, I'm curious, this is a total squirrel, and we don't have to spend, have you heard of Final Offer?
Why have I heard of that?
I just actually had a call with them, and I'm looking at it, bringing them to Kentucky and Ohio, but it's where there's transparency in all the offers. So when the agents use Final Offer, you get to see all the offers. Like, it's all open transparency.
Oh, yes. I have heard of this. Yes.
They're really expanding. Yep. And I did a second call with them yesterday, and I thought, man, like, this is value.
This is the kind of stuff like I said, I would recommend, before you make any final whatever, look at the one I just put in there for you. Like, I'm on like a hunt right now, looking at companies and going, my job in this industry is not just to define the problem, it's to tell you the solution. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, well, let me also give you something that does that. Like, we need to stop checking boxes on technologies, and we need to grab the ones that are actually going to make a difference.
Yeah, totally.
That's it, you know? So, and you need to be able to have the potential client go to the other side and say, are you doing this? Are you, like, it's all differentiation. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, cool stuff. But anyway,
I love your hot guy, hot girl analogy, because I do really believe that is the case. And that will be the difference maker in people who lose market share forever in this change, or the ones who gain new market share that they get to keep forever. And I think focusing on that is really good. I want to make sure really fast. I skipped one question from Tim.
You're fine. You're fine on time. I'm good.
Okay.
Just so you know on that point, guys, our industry is not about closings, just so you know, because you can't control closings.
That's right.
Like if I tell you right now, go create a closing, what are you going to do? Sell your house? Like, what are you going to do? You know, our industry is about conversations. That is the controllable factor. That is the thing that ultimately creates closings. And the percentage of which those conversations turn into closings will go up, will go down over time, but it's the controllable factor. And so your whole business, it's like, it's funny when people say like, you know, here's my goal and here's my goal for closings. And I'm like, I always the coach in me, because it's what we're supposed to teach. Guys, I'm just a lot different. I guess I'm just be honest with you. Like I'm a lot different than a lot of coaches you're going to meet. Like I even hate the word. Everybody who can't sell houses puts that they're a coach in their Instagram bio. I think I think different and I operate different because I actually operate.
Yeah.
I've actually sold a crap ton of houses. I actually operate multiple businesses. I actually do it. I didn't just read a book or like pass on from the next person and whatever they said or whatever. Like,
Yep.
guys, you don't control closings. That's the truth. You know, over time, when you know your stats, your data, whatever, it's gonna kind of be about the same for what it should be, closing ratios and those kind of things. But you have to go after the things you actually control, which is conversations. And there is no better time than in a time of change, in a time of uncertainty, a time of misinformation. It's never easier to create conversations. Like it's never easier. Like if you're right now not sending out a text message to 20 people a day from your database or your phone, that says something like, you know, hey, with all the information coming out from the media about our industry, has this changed your plans for real estate in the coming year? And that's so open-ended. They're like, what does that mean? Or they're like, you know, what's changed? Oh my God, I saw that. I've been thinking. Or it's a conversation starter. You know, you need to remember that we don't make people buy and sell, guys. Our job's to be there when they do it.
Yeah.
You know, like that's it. And so I remember when the rates went really high and people were like, well, why would someone leave a 2.875 and go to a 7.5 and, you know, whatever. And I saw these coaches coming out with the script you use to make people do it. And I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like that's criminal. Like you don't talk people that's not in their best interest to do that. That's dummy. Like, would you do that? You know? And yet people do things all the time that are against their own self-interest when their motivation changes.
Yeah.
You know, when all of a sudden they have a career change, when all of a sudden their kids are moving somewhere, when all of a sudden they will make decisions that are against their own personal financial interest. Our job is not to talk them into that. Our job is to be there when it happens. You know, and that's why I always say visibility trumps ability. You got to be visible.
I love that. Ooh, that's good.
Yeah. Got to be visible, guys. That's it. Your job is not to talk people into things. Your job is to be visible. That's it. You know, when you look at all the videos I put out, all the stuff I do,
Yep.
you know, it's not because my daddy didn't love me enough. You know, it's because I'm running businesses and I need a lot of people to say no to me. You know, I need to get a lot of no's. I need a lot of people to hate me. I need a lot of people to get in my comments and tell me what a terrible person I am. I need them to tell them what an idiot I am. I need them to tell me, because the alternative is they're not talking at all. And then the flip side of that is I get a lot of people who say yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when you divorce yourself from, you know, that feedback negative, you start to reap the benefits of that positive that comes with it. You know, you understand that you're not for everybody, and that's fine. You know, you don't build a tribe by being for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, you build a tribe by doing an event in front of thousands of people and having sneakers on with a t-shirt and doing this is me.
Yeah.
You know, like that's how it happens. So
yeah, I love that. I think I'm spot on with you. Okay, one last quick question. We got 4 minutes. Tim said, do you
by the way, I'm fine. Don't worry. You're good. Just go do your thing. I'm good.
Thank you. Okay. Do you think the mortgage industry will implement a system to make it easy for buyer compensation to be financed into the loan so that the buyer does not need to request the seller to compensate
that
the
is
buyer's agent?
such a pending problem.
Yeah.
It's what nobody's talking about. So right now we have appraisal gaps at about 9%. And they're predicting that by the end of the year, that's going to go to 15%. The answer is yes, but it's such a bigger problem. This is not being talked about right now, but like, what's a comp in the future? When you don't know whether they gave full commission, you don't know if it was paid by the buyer, you don't know what was the value of the home.
Yeah.
What
Jenny,
happens
I
when
feel like
people,
we talked about that. That's a great question.
how do you like this? Nobody's talking about this. Believe me,
Yeah.
I went on a run the other day. I was thinking about this. This is what I do, guys. I geek out and I was thinking about this. And I'm like, how? In the old days, you call and you'd say, hey, you sold that house over at blank. Did it have, what was the basement like? Was it finished? Did it have this? Did it have that? We're going to go to another level now. How much concession? What was the concession for? Was
Yeah.
is that an approvable concession? Is that not an approvable concession? Was the, man, you remember when we got in trouble in the 2000s, they were giving out money on investment properties and others at 106%.
Yep.
So what's going to happen here, guys? Are they going to start giving over the amount, to pay commissions? But what happened when we did that in the 2000s? The guys, there's so much crap coming. Like literally, there's so much like that is the untalked about right now. If I'm an appraiser right now, I'm just going, oh man, like how's that going to work? How, I don't know. Like there's no way to, and you can't say anything in the MLS, which is where they would go for that info. So where are they going? Now they're expecting agents to call them back and tell them when agents won't even call potential leads who could make them money. But now they're going to call the appraiser. Like, guys, that's a great question. That's a pending storm.
Yeah, I think it is too.
That is an unintended consequence of all this bull crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great question.
You say it.
And I kind of answered it. The answer is yes, but I also told you, like, man, there's some muddying of waters coming right now.
Yeah.
Like it's going to get interesting.
Do you think, okay, this is my last question. Do you think
you don't have to, you're good. Literally, like when you guys are done, but like I'm good. I did a bunch of things up until now, and then I'm just going to something, but I'm not like up against the crunch.
Okay, well, we might just go 5 minutes or like not even that, but
we're completely good.
I think I have a call at 2, so I will have to hurry. Okay.
Awesome.
Do you think this is going to drive a lot of agents out of the business, the changes?
Of course.
I do too.
Of course. Change always does that.
Be what they said, like, the half or whatever, but I do think that I think it's going to drive out the ones that aren't learning based, that don't see
the ones that should leave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I'm in a relationship, let's say you and I are in a relationship, right? And the first time everything's great, right? We're in honeymoon phase. Everything's great, right? What about the first time we have a thing I don't like about you or you don't like about me and I just jump ship? That's probably not a relationship we should fix and make last for the next 10 years.
Right.
See what I'm saying? It's just not worth it. It's like that's not a committed person. And so when you get the people who leave the industry because they don't like what's happening right now, they don't like, whatever, it's too difficult. I got to learn this. Good day, sir. I'll say in my best Willy Wonka, good day. Like it's time for you to go, So, and I agree with that. Like that's, yeah.
Yeah. Really fast, Jenny, I know we kind of talked about this, but when we mentioned round 2 is coming, Jenny said, what does that look like? I mean, do you think, Jared, that it'll be a whole nother wave of the lawsuits?
Guys, Ketchmark said it in his interview. He said they have a team of people watching everything.
Oh,
they're already forming their arguments for the next round.
Oh, and I think, Jared, I think I told you this on our like brief call, but we have a broker inside of KW who was one of the 8 who got to sit in the room on the board with the DOJ. Yeah. And she said to me, like I was talking to her in person, she said, Dana, I'm not a person who gets intimidated easily. And she said, like, I'm not, it takes a lot to rattle me. And she said, I left the meeting feeling very intimidated because she said, they are watching and they are going to
watching. Guys, yeah, why do you think that I'm on this crusade telling everybody stop doing broker to broker?
Yeah.
Why do you think I'm doing that? Like, I don't benefit from that at all. I don't at all. I don't like it. I don't think it's right. I know they're coming around again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they've been very clear about it.
Yeah.
They literally have people watching. Look, if you knew you could collect an easy 300 million, you'd probably be watching too.
Yeah.
So I know you said we're about to go. I'm just going to put in here, guys. For any of you who have more questions, I just put in the chat, connectwithjared.com, guys. Just send me a...
Jared, is that how they can get information about your academy and coaching and stuff? And we're going to send that out to you.
Nope, that's not how. But I'll give you something.
Okay. If you
Yeah,
can have Kat or somebody send that to me, then I'm going to send that out to everybody too, because I know, one, I want to share that because I think what you do is great. And two, I know that we'll have people that'll ask. So it'll be really
yeah. We just launched that, and we literally have it through an app, and we also have it through regular, and it's gonna be so cool. I'm for the first time gonna be going live with our people twice a month, which we haven't done for decades, whatever. And
nice.
so it's gonna be really cool. But
I love it.
anyway, guys, if you have questions, there's the stuff. Follow on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and whatever, all the different
things.
TikToks. Send me a question. I'm here to serve you guys. I really do mean it. Like I love this industry. I love the people in it, and I want to see you guys do well. It's the only reason I do this. Like, so.
Well, thank you so
questions,
much
send 'em
for
over.
doing it. I always want to be a great leader to our people. And I also know that I'm not the smartest person in the room. And on this, you are way smarter than me. So I was like, we got to get Jared on.
No, you're great. And guys, you're really lucky, honestly. Like I said, I mean, I hope I don't look like a jerk right now, but I don't think we knew each other before.
No, we didn't.
No, but I enjoyed my convo, and you got a good leader, a good heart, good person. And so you guys are fortunate, and there'll be a lot of changes coming and everything, but you're in a good place. So that's good.
We will get through it together. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for being on. Thanks for everybody watching in the offices, and we'll
Love you guys. I'll see you at some point.
See ya. Thanks.
All right.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.